Hello everyone, my name is Leilani Amada. Me and Mr. Melbourne Gabayron will be discussing cattle production and feeding management. In this topic, we're going to talk about cattle production, common breeds of cattle in the Philippines, types of cattle raising, management of calves, growers, and feeders, feeding management practices, timing of feeding different feeds, necessary information for balancing ration, and lastly, sample ration for dairy cows at different stages. The first four subtopics will be discussed by me, while the rest will be by Mr. Melbourne. Okay, let's start. Backyard cattle fattening has gained popularity as an important business project of the livestock industry in the Philippines. Raising cattle in the backyard gives the farmer year-round work and provides him with extra income. That is why it gained popularity in terms of raising our cattle. And in fact, 92% of the total cattle production is through backyard cattle fattening. Common breeds of cattle in the Philippines. There are two types of cattle, the dairy cattle and beef cattle. The common breeds for dairy cattle are the Holstein Friesian, the Jersey, and the Brown Swiss. And the beef cattle breeds are Angus, Brahman, and Beef Master. The difference between dairy and beef cattle basically is the dairy cattle are raised for milk or milk products, while the beef cattle for meat. Okay, now let's proceed to the types of cattle raising. Actually, there are three types of cattle raising: the cow-calf operation, the breeder farm operation, and the growing fattening operation. Let's go first with the cow-calf operation. Cows and bulls are raised to produce calves in this type of operation. Calves are then raised until they are weaned from their dams and at 7 to 8 months of age. After weaning, they can be sold immediately or raised for a few more months for use as replacement stocks or sold for fattening. So basically, cow-calf operation main goal is to produce calves. Next is the breeder farm operation. From the word or from the name itself, the main interest of the raisers is to produce animals for breeding purposes. Thus, the calves are raised until they are ready for breeding, provided they pass the selection criteria. Yeah, I know you everyone is very familiar with the selection criteria in terms of um, breeding animals. The farm requires number of animal stock, a big farm, and a big capital. Um, yeah, it requires high inputs. Next is the growing fattening operation. Growing fattening operation is the most popular type of cattle raising in the Philippines. Why? Um, because it requires simple facilities and a level of management. The project is also shorter, and the ROI or the return of investment is relatively higher than the cow calf operation. Thus, it needs little capital, so it can be managed by smallhold cattle raisers. Yeah, that is the reasons why growing fattening operation is the most um, type of cattle raising practiced here in our country. Okay, next is the growing fattening operation. Oh, we are done with that. Sorry. Okay, now let's move on to the management of calves. Calves should suckle colostrum milk from their mother within 3 hours after calving. A calf that has not suckled 5 to 6 hours after calving should be led to his mother's udder. So there should be an assistance, of course, in managing our calves. Colostrum can be frozen to feed later, but only the first milking colostrum should be fed at the first feeding. Freezing colostrum in the ice cube trays and then putting it in bags speeds thawing and warming. Yeah, we are very particular with the colostrum. Colostrum is exceeding rich in protective molecules. It gives adequate immunity against infective organisms when given to our calves. So it strengthens our calves. Calves should be given concentrates at an early age for faster growth. During bad weathers, weak calves should be taken to the barn with the mother. However, orphan calves may be raised to cow's milk or milk replacers. Yeah, giving concentrates to our calves is very important. And we also need to take note that giving or the concentrates given are highly palatable, coarse textured, high in energy, and also in protein, but low in roughage or basically less than 15%. Okay. I also provided here the calf feeding program from a day old to 5 months old uh, calves. Okay, for a day old calf, um, we can allow or we should allow them to nurse. Um, nurse, it means to be breastfed by their mothers. For day 1 to 4, we have to feed them colostrum. This can be done by either letting the calf nurse or by milking and feeding. Take note that if scouring occurs, colostrum should be diluted by mixing half and half with water. Um, Scouring is like diarrhea. It is a very, it occurs um, to young age or calves 3 months below. Um, this is very common. And one way to prevent or cure scarring is through fluid therapy, wherein we provide water or electrolytes to our calves to bring back the energy that was lost. Okay, for day 5 to 30, we have to feed milk replacer or milk. Extra colostrum can also be fed during this time but should be diluted with equal amounts of water to prevent scouring. On the 10th day, start good leafy hay and a calf starter with 80% TDN or total digestible nutrient and 21% protein. Day 21, start to wean and increase cow calf starter. Okay, for months 1 to 5, feed calf starter and hay free choice. And for month 5, switch to a starter ration with 75% TDN and 14% protein. So this can be followed to reach the optimum requirement of our calves' body. Now let's go with the second stage of our cattle, the grower or growing stage. Growers are weaned yearling, which are not to be fattened immediately. They are handled in such a way that maximum growth is achieved at lowest possible cost. Growers are usually maintained in the pasture with very little attention. They are given salt and mineral supplements. If raised in confinement, concentrate should be given in addition to grass or roughage. Yeah, unlike in the management of calves, there is a less assistance for our growers since they already built their immunity. Um, yeah, there are also ways to to maintain or to reach their optimum needs. Okay, next is the management of fatteners. Fatteners require a shorter period to reach slaughter weight. They are generally bigger, mature, or nearing maturity. However, 1.5 to 2 year old animals weighing 200 to 300 kilograms are preferred. They may be fattened either in feedlot or on pasture or in both areas. So the fatteners, these are the mature stage of our um, cattle. Okay. Um, the feeding management practices will be discussed by Mr. Melbourne. But as a summary of what I have discussed to you, there are three types of cattle raising, and the most or the commonly way of raising our cattle here is the growing fattening operation. Since it achieve the high protein the high protein demand of the Filipino diets. We also discussed the management for calves, growers, and fatteners, which require specific way of handling them. Why? For them to reach the mm, maximum or optimum or to reach their optimum capability or ability and to produce a good harvest or product. So now let's proceed to Mr. Melbourne report. So as of now, Thank you so much for listening.